is recognized for 4 minutes.
I thank my colleague for yielding. Mr. Chairman, you know, there's an argument on the other side of the aisle, and in fact we heard it just a few minutes ago, that we shouldn't take action to address climate change because doing so will hurt poor people. It's a particularly galling statement, because the truth is that the world's poor, the world's poorest, have the most to lose if we don't take urgent action to cut carbon pollution. Poor people are on the front lines of climate change. World Bank President Jim Yong Kim says that unless we address climate change, and I quote, we could witness the rolling back of decades of development gains and force tens of millions more to live in poverty, end quote. According to the United Nations Development Program, without coordinated global action to address climate and environmental threats, 3 billion more people could be in poverty by 2015. That's the reality. The world's poorest will be the most affected by the impacts of climate change, and yet they have the fewest resources to adapt to or respond to it. To hear the other side tell it, the only way to protect the health of the well-being of poor people is to weaken EPA's ability to cut carbon pollution, and that's nonsense. It's time to stop denying the science and accept reality. We need to take action now to cut carbon pollution. The longer we wait, the higher the cost will be, especially for the poor. Indeed, addressing climate change is in the economic self-interest of all of us. Consider recent comments by Robert Rubin, who was a universally respected Treasury Secretary. During his tenure, the budget deficit was reduced from $290 billion to $70 billion. The Dow Jones Industrial Average more than tripled, unemployment decreased to 4.3%, and more than 18 million new jobs were created. Senator Bob Dole described Secretary Rubin as a man of honesty and integrity. Alan Greenspan called him one of the most effective secretaries of the Treasury in this nation's history. When he resigned in 1999, Secretary Rubin received glowing tributes from Democrats and Republicans alike. Over the past year, Secretary Rubin has focused on the threat of climate change to our economic well-being. Here is what he said about climate change a few weeks ago, and I quote, "There are a lot of really significant monumental issues facing the global economy, but this one supersedes all else. Experts are telling us that inaction on climate change threatens the global economy. Responding to this threat isn't about disadvantaging ourselves, it's about seizing opportunities. There are already 143,000 solar jobs and 80,000 wind jobs in the United States. Winning the global clean energy race will mean millions of jobs and faster economic growth. Our competitors in China and Europe understand this. We risk being left behind if we don't recognize it as well. We should abandon this bill and start getting serious about climate change and the economy." I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlelady from California yields back. Gentleman from California reserves.